Hello guys. Welcome back to another video. As always, I am so excited to have you guys here. And if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name's Claire. I'm a naturopathic doctor and I'm really here to just help support you on your health journey. I love helping you guys feel more educated and empowered when it comes to your health. Of course, I like to talk a lot about nutrition, but we know that that's not the only thing that contributes to our health. But this week, I wanted to share what I ate on a very full week. You guys know I don't necessarily like to use the word busy when I describe my life, but this was definitely a very full week. There was a lot of different things on the go. I also live alone, and I know that sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging to eat healthy when you live alone, especially if you're not someone who's super into batch prepping or eating the same meal over again. But I always do my best to make big batches of things, but then utilize them in different ways. That way nothing goes to waste and you're also not eating the same foods over and over again. Starting out on Monday, if you guys are an OG subscriber, you may recognize this kitchen, but I actually slept over at my parents' on Sunday night because I had a periodontist appointment first thing on Monday, and my parents live a lot closer to the office, so I just slept over there. And then my parents have a really nice espresso machine, so of course while I was at their house I had to make myself an iced latte. And then Monday definitely did not go as planned. I definitely got back to my apartment a lot later than I thought I would. I did have some leftovers from the weekend, just some salmon that we had cooked up, some roasted broccoli, and some Japanese sweet potatoes. So I just warmed those up for a really quick lunch. I do always find that lunch is the most difficult meal for me. I'm usually pretty preoccupied throughout the day, just doing different things, and I don't always want to take a lot of time to make a meal, but I always do try and make sure that I follow my normal meal blueprint. So making sure that I have veggies, protein, carbohydrates, some sort of healthy fat as well. And yeah, this was just a very quick and easy meal. Plus I've been trying to eat more fatty fish for the omega-3. So just a very quick, easy, delicious meal. I know it doesn't look super delicious, but it was very, very delicious. I also had some sauerkraut, so I added that. I've also been trying to make sure that I've been getting my fermented foods in at least once a day. And then I also had some maple mustard tahini sauce. So I just used that to top it off. Then in the fall and winter, one of my favorite things to do at the start of the week is to make up a big tray of roasted vegetables. I just find that I can use the leftovers in a lot of different ways, and it's just really nice to have pre-cooked vegetables on hand to add to any of my meals. You guys know that vegetables is one component that I always try and include in my meals. So lately I've been loving carrots and parsnips. If you guys have watched my other videos, you know I love parsnips. They're one of my favorite fall and winter vegetables. So I just seasoned those with some garlic powder, salt, and avocado oil, and I laid them out on a baking tray. I'll usually just bake them in the oven between 350 and 400 degrees just until they are cooked through. And then I did the water test on my stainless steel pan before I laid down 2 grass-fed burger patties. If you guys have been watching my last few videos, you know I have been obsessed with this meal. Once my patties were almost done cooking, I also added in some leftover sweet potato that I had from the weekend just to warm it up, and I also mashed up some avocado. This has been one of my go-to meals because if I have the sweet potato already prepped, it comes together pretty quick. I just added my sweet potato along with my burger patties. I had my roasted vegetables on the side, and then I also added my avocado. And again, this is just such an easy, delicious, high protein, high fiber meal, and I can use the leftover veggies in a lot of different ways throughout the week. office pretty early on Tuesday mornings, and I always basically take the same breakfast. Here, I took 3 hard-boiled eggs, some sprouts, avocado, and I took some grapes. I'm trying to enjoy the last of the late summer fruit while I can, and I just took that into work with me. And one of the things that I really love about my office is our tea and tincture inventory. So now that we're moving into the fall months, I always like to have different herbal teas on hand at home. I had made one that was just plain licorice root. I love licorice. It is a great adaptogenic herb. It's really, really great for low cortisol. It's also a really potent antioxidant. Just overall, a number of benefits. I do keep in mind that licorice can raise your blood pressure. It also depletes potassium. So I do try and limit how much I have. And I also like to make a tea to balance it out. So here I also made one with nettle, burdock, ginger, dandelion, and hibiscus. All some of my favorite herbs. Hibiscus, again, is a super strong antioxidant. It also helps to lower blood pressure. So I like to use it when I'm having licorice tea. Nettle is just a very mineral and nutrient dense herb. Burdock is one of my favorite herbs to use. It's an alternative. It's great for lymphatic, liver, and digestion. And of course, ginger is great for digestion. And dandelion, I always love adding dandelion because it is so good for your liver. So those are just a few of the herbs that I have been drinking. I definitely want to expand my home herb stash and tea stash. Anyway, moving on to lunch, I just used some more of the leftover roasted vegetables, and I still had some of the ground meat in my fridge. So I cooked that up in a little pan and added an avocado on top. You guys know I get home in kind of the early afternoon on Tuesdays, so I always need something quick and easy for my lunch, and this just hits the spot. I think I also added in some sweet potato as well. I also just had a few bites of sauerkraut on the side just to get in some probiotics. And then on a side note, I bought an Instant Pot. So I'm super excited to use this fall. If you guys have any go-to Instant Pot recipes, let me know in the comments down below. And then for dinner, I ended up just meeting a friend at Mandy's, and I just got a big salad with some chicken. And then when I got home, I had a piece of banana bread. You guys asked me in my last video if I had a recipe for the banana bread. So I'll put some clips of me making it. You guys know that I'm not very good at following recipes or measuring anything, but for this one in particular, I did follow a recipe. I will link it down below. The only change that I made to this recipe was that I added an extra, I think, either quarter or a third cup of olive oil. The recipe didn't call for any oil, but I just find whenever I make baked goods and there's no oil or anything in them, they just come out really dry. So I added extra oil, but other than that, I basically followed the recipe to a T. I also added in some extra chocolate chips. I don't think that that was in the original recipe, but yeah, I just had a piece of banana bread with some peanut butter for dessert.
Got this song up inside of me, in a world I don't wanna say. Just the same damn thing. What's your height, what's your age, what's the price of your way? And every year we're expected to show all the things that we were able to grow.
And like like I said, I live alone, so if there is a bunch of leftover veggies, ground beef, and avocado in the fridge, that means that I'm the one who has to eat them. So I just had some more leftovers for breakfast. I will say that green figs are one of my favorite fruit, and they are definitely going out of season. The last few days that I've been at the grocery store, they have not been there. So I was enjoying those while they were still in season, and now I'm going to have to look for a new favorite fruit to eat. But I also just had some of my tea while I did a few hours of studying on Wednesday.
Same year, moved back home. Guess your 20s ain't as friendly as a place where you were born. And anytime you reach for something, they claim that you need nothing to satisfy your soul. But all the good stuff's bought and sold. Quiet life of desperation, but it ain't gonna make me too much longer. Been working too hard for this shit to not pop, so we about to get it poppin' now. Quiet life of desperation, so I'ma have to live a little louder. And no, I ain't gonna end up like the man trying to figure out the man who got to figure it out. See you soon is my new favorite joke. They got more options than I got hope. Waking up is a new taking it slow. Are we friends now? Are we friends now? Are you just wrong?
And for lunch on Wednesday, I just started by sauteing up some onions, red pepper, and shiitake mushrooms. I always like to make up a big batch of sauteed vegetables. I added some garlic powder, and then I set about 2/3 of the veggies aside for another day. I love using onions because they are part of the allium family. They are so great for gut health, and I love adding red pepper because it's really, really high in vitamin C. And then the eggs and shiitake mushrooms are super high in choline, so great for the liver, great for cognitive function. And I just added that to a whole grain tortilla wrap. I really like the Ezekiel wraps because they don't have any weird ingredients. They're also super high in fiber, and they have a decent amount of protein as well. So I just had that with some avocado, and that was my lunch.
No, I ain't gonna end up like the man trying to figure out the man who got to figure it out.
So on Wednesday afternoon, I walked down to the butcher shop and just got a bunch of chicken thighs. Again, whenever I'm cooking up a protein source, I like to just make a big batch, especially if it's something like chicken thighs, which I find that I like the leftovers. I find with ground beef, I don't really like ground beef leftovers, but I feel like chicken thighs, tofu, tempeh, I generally like those as leftovers, if that makes sense. You guys know what I mean. Anyway, I just made up a big salad. I added in some sweet potato, beets, roasted vegetables, sauerkraut, avocado. I used some balsamic vinegar, olive oil, salt, pepper as my dressing. And I just had that with some chicken and a piece of banana bread for dessert.
If you're heading for the coast, hearing voices up ahead.
So Thursday and Fridays are generally my busiest days of the week, so I always need just pretty quick and simple meals. For lunch on Thursday, I just made up another big salad with all the different leftovers that I had in the fridge. So I added a base of greens, and then I added some of the roasted vegetables, beets, avocado, and some of the leftover chicken. One of my favorite ways to kind of transition from summer to fall is by adding more roasted and root vegetables into my salads. In the fall and winter, I tend to eat a lot more cooked foods like like soups and stews, but the weather has actually still been pretty warm here in Toronto, so I've still been craving a lot of salads and just lighter meals. But one of my favorite things to add is that roasted vegetable because it kind of makes it feel just a little bit more like fall. I also added a few pieces of sweet potato on the side, and that was my lunch.
Tigers on trees, watching you go. Head in the glass, fog in the windows.
So I always get home pretty late from clinic on Thursdays, and I always want something quick and easy for dinner. I made a little side salad with some grated carrots, sauerkraut, and tahini. You guys know I love the sauerkraut and tahini combo. I just find that the acidity and the tang from the sauerkraut goes really well with the fattiness from the tahini. And then I just made some more of my sweet potato burgers. I definitely had more red meat this week than I normally do, but like I said, I live alone, so if I buy a pound of ground beef, I have to eat all of that. And I find that I just tend to have a lot of chicken one week, a lot of ground beef another week, maybe another week I'll have more tofu and tempeh. But yeah, that was my dinner. And of course, I had some banana bread for dessert. So on Friday, I was actually just in the clinic in the morning, so I came home to make my lunch. I used some of the leftover chicken that I had to make a chicken wrap, and honestly, this was so delicious. So I just warmed up some of the chicken in a pan, and then I just made a simple honey mustard sauce. I just literally mixed honey and mustard together. I also added some of the beets, some of the cooked chicken, and then I had some spring mix in the fridge that I was trying to use up as well, so I added that. I also had some red onions that I had to use up, so I just sliced some of that up very thinly. I do prefer pickled red onions, but I didn't have any on hand. I just rolled that up and had it with some avocado on the side. I find that if I put the avocado in the wrap, it just gets a little bit too mushy and it starts to fall apart. So that was my lunch. Again, super, super high in protein, high in fiber. So for dinner on Friday, we just made up some sweet potato, salmon, and roasted broccoli. So I always make my sweet potato the same way. I do avocado oil, salt, and Ceylon cinnamon, and I just roast that in the oven, again, anywhere between 350 and 400 degrees until it's cooked through. I also snacked on some kimchi while I was making dinner, just again to get in those probiotics. And then I always like to use frozen broccoli. It's just really easy and really convenient, especially at the end of the week when both me and my boyfriend are tired. And what I will usually do is just pop it in the oven with the sweet potatoes, let it get kind of dried out and evaporate a lot of the water off of it. And then once it's been cooking for a while, I just season it with some avocado oil, salt, and garlic powder, but you can really add whatever spices you like. And then we walked down to the fish market and picked up some salmon. So we just cooked that up. course, I added some tahini on top of mine, and I had some banana bread for dessert. But that does bring us to the end of the video. You guys know I don't really film on the weekends, but I always like to include some clips. This weekend, of course, we made a big veggie scramble for brunch. We also went over to my parents for burger nights, and my dad made us black bean burgers. They were delicious. And we ended up getting sushi on Sunday to celebrate. So that was my week. As always, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you got some meal ideas or inspiration. Let me know in the comments down below what other video topics you guys want to see. I definitely want to film more sit down videos. So let me know what topics you guys want to see, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.